Hi guys, welcome to this video of Twilight Imperium. Today we are going to talk about the Emirates of Hacan, and you probably want to try and win your next game. And to do so, well, you will increase your chances if you get a good first round. So I will try and help you to get that. Let's have a look. Now I want to mention a few of the strengths of the Hacan player, and of course trade is one of them. You have this faction ability called guild ships. You can negotiate transactions with players who are not your neighbor, so you can basically trade with all the players around the table, and since you are a 6 commodities faction, you have plenty of commodities to trade with. Another strength they have is their mechs, called Pride of Canara. It says, this planet's planet card may be traded as part of a transaction. If you do, move all your units from this planet to another planet you control. So as the only faction in the game, you can actually trade planets with some of the other players. The last strength I want to highlight is the faction ability called Arbiters. When you are negotiating a transaction, action cards can be exchanged as part of that transaction. And let's say 2 of the other players are battling each other and you have an action card on your hand that can benefit one of the players. You can either try to sell your action card to that player so they may gain an advantage in the battle, or you could try and blackmail the other player so he pays you trade goods so that you don't sell it to the first player. And in this way you can make trade goods either way. When it comes to weaknesses, the Hacan player does not have any units that are particularly strong in combat, so they have to make up for that by either researching technology or building bigger fleets. Now I mentioned trade being one of the strengths of the Hacan player, but it can also be one of the weaknesses, because if the other players think that you're earning too much money / trade goods, then they may stop trading with you. So try to be a little subtle and don't flash your money too much. When it comes to your map slice, the Emirates of Hacan don't have any special needs. Of course you want resources to build fleets and research technology, and you want influence to buy more command counters, but besides that you don't have any special requirements. But if you can get a hold of a red tech skip planet, then you can more easily get some fun with warsons later in the game, and I will tell you more about that when we talk about technology paths. When it comes to tech, all your options are pretty open. You start with 2 technologies, one blue and one yellow. The first one is anti-mass deflectors. It says your ships can move into and through asteroid fields. When other players' units use space cannon against your units, apply -1 to the result of each die roll. So this is a pretty good technology if you have asteroid fields near your home system or near your slice. And it's also a good defensive technology in case other people use their PDSs against you. And the other technology is Sarween tools. When one or more of your units use production, reduce the combined cost of the produced units by 1. And that's basically for you. Every time your space dock produces units, then you can reduce the total cost by 1. I have 2 pieces of advice when it comes to research. The first one is that you have this racial ability that you can use action cards whenever you want to negotiate deals with the other players. So it could be a good idea to get the neural motivator so that you during the status phase draws 2 action cards instead of 1. Then the chance for you to get some of the good action cards gets quite better. And the other piece of advice I would give you is to follow the public objectives. So in case one of the technology objectives comes out, could be this: diversify research, own 2 technologies in each of 2 colors. Well, you start with a blue and a yellow, so it only requires 2 more technologies to score this one. And for the blue one, it could be gravity drive, and for the yellow, it could be the Scanlink drone network. And that says when you activate a system, you may explore one planet in that system which contains 1 or more of your units. And that can be a pretty good technology, because whenever you explore planets, you get the chance to get a planet attachment, so the resource and or the influence values increase. You can get trade goods, you can get command counters from exploration. So that can be pretty useful. It could also be the other public objective called develop weaponry that comes out, and it says own 2 unit upgrade technologies. So you start with a blue and a yellow tech. So the first one you could research is the Dreadnought 2. It only requires 1 more blue, and again gravity drive could be a candidate for that. The other unit upgrade you could go for is the PDS2. In this case, you only need one more red technology, as you have the yellow one already. And that red technology might as well be plasma scoring. It says when one or more of your units use bombardment or space cannon, one of those units may roll one additional die. So if you go for the PDS and maybe also the Dreadnought, you might as well make those units even better with plasma scoring. You could also research the Space Dock 2, and it says this unit's production value is equal to 4 more than the resource value of this planet. Up to 3 fighters in the system do not count against your ship's capacity. And Space Dock 1 only gives a production value of 2, so here the Space Dock 2 doubles that. And again, the Scanlink drone network could be a tech you may want to research. And if you choose to go into this yellow path, you will also get closer to your racial tech called the Quantum Data Hub node. And I will talk a little bit more about that when we come to the section about your racial techs. If the general technology path is too boring for you, you can of course go for War Sons. And this is the most powerful unit in the game, but usually you won't get it until mid or late game. So you may ask, why are you bringing this up in first turn strategies? And that is because if you want to get this unit as early as possible, then you need to think it in from the beginning of the game. And that actually starts with whenever you either build or pick your map slice. You may want to go for having a planet that has a red tech skip in it, so that you don't need to research 3 red technologies before you can actually get the War Sons. You do start with a yellow one, the Sarween tools, so you don't have to worry about getting another yellow. So what to take if you want to go for War Sons? I would definitely recommend going for AI development algorithm. It says when you research a unit upgrade technology, you may exhaust this card to ignore any one prerequisite. And since the War Son is a unit upgrade, then you're both getting a red technology and you get to skip one. And that means if you have a red technology planet here, then you already have 1, 2 red technologies, and this one allows you to skip the third one, and now you can actually research War Sons. But if you don't have the red tech skip in your slice, or you cannot get control of a planet who has it, then you could also research plasma scoring. That says when one or more of your units use bombardment or space cannon, one of those units may roll 1 additional die, making your War Son and also your PDSs even better. I would also recommend, if you're going for the War Sons, that you also go for the Space Dock 2. It usually requires 2 yellow technologies, but again, the AI development algorithm will help you out, because this is also a unit upgrade, so you can skip 1 prerequisite here, and you already have Sarween tools. And what Space Dock 2 basically does is upgrade your production value from 2 to 4, so that you can build more pieces of plastic in your Space Docks. And that will help you protect your War Sons quite a bit by building more fighters to fly along with it, and maybe also some other ships. Your other racial technology is called Quantum Data Hub node. It says, at the end of the strategy phase, you may spend 1 token from your strategy pool and give another player 3 of your trade goods. If you do, give 1 of your strategy cards to that player and take 1 of his strategy cards. And as you can see, it requires 3 yellow technologies before you can research this one. But luckily you start with Sarween tools, so you just need 2 more. But this is also a very late game technology to get, and you may probably only use it once, but it can be a very powerful technology to have. So you may think that in from the beginning of the game, that you need to be able to research this tech. And let me just give you a simple example. You are in round 5 or 6 and you expect the next round will be the last one. You control Megatol Rex and you have 9 points. So now the last round starts and another player picks the Imperial strategy card so that you don't get it, because you can just play that card as your first action and then you gain 1 more victory point and you win the game. But if you have this technology, you can pay that player 3 trade goods, and then you can take the Imperial card from him and give him whatever card you decided to pick. So this can really help you win the game. So it's worth bearing in mind, even though it is a late game technology. As for strategy cards, these are the 4 ranked in order from top to bottom that I would pick. The first one is trade. I will go more into detail about this card in the next segment of the video. So for now, I will cover the next 3. My second pick would be politics. It says choose a player other than the speaker. That player gains the speaker token. And I would immediately try to sell this speaker token to another player. Maybe one of them have some commodities that has no value for them, and then you can sell the speaker token to them. Then you would get 2 action cards, and because the Hacan player can use their faction ability to sell action cards when negotiating deals, action cards are especially interesting for you to get. And then of course you could look at the agenda deck, but it's not really relevant for the first turn. My third pick would be technology, and it says research 1 technology, spend 6 resources to research 1 technology. I would probably only go for the first option, to research 1 technology for free, and that would probably be the neural motivator, so that I would gain 2 action cards at the end of every status phase again, so have more action cards to sell or play for myself. And my fourth pick would be leadership. It says gain 3 command tokens, spend any amount of influence to gain 1 command token for every 3 influence spent. And that is basically to get my command counter economy in order. And it would probably be the only time I would need to pick the leadership strategy card. Then for the rest of the game, I could focus on getting the strategy cards that would help me score any public objectives. Alright, let's have a look at how the first round can look like if you decide to choose the trade strategy card. But first let's have a quick look at our home system. And as you can see, it contains of 3 planets, but only 2 of them got resources on them for a total of 3. And the red player has decided to take the technology strategy card. And if you want to do the secondary of that, then we need to spend 1 token from the strategy pool and 4 resources to research 1 technology. So we don't have enough resources to do the secondary of technology right now. Then we got the green player out here, and they decided to have the warfare strategy card, and we want to use the secondary here, so we are able to produce units in our home system. And we would also like to have more resources whenever the green player decides to play his strategy card. And up here in this corner, we got the purple player who picked leadership as their strategy card. And we also want to do the secondary of that, so that we can buy 1 more command token using influence or trade goods. So what I would suggest you to do is to play the trade strategy card as your very first action, so that you make sure that you have trade goods before the red player decides to play the technology card, or the purple player decides to play the leadership card. So let's do that. And it says gain 3 trade goods, replenish commodities, and choose any number of other players. Those players use the secondary ability of this strategy card without spending a command token. But first, let's get our 3 trade goods, and we also get 6 commodities. And then we can do a quick conversation with the purple and the red player here if they want to trade as well. And luckily for us, they do that. And the red player got 3 commodities on their faction, and the purple one got 4. And since we have this guild ships faction ability, you can negotiate transactions with players who are not your neighbor. So we can actually complete the deals immediately. So let's say that we do a 3 for 2, so we get his 3 trade goods, and we give him 2 trade goods back, and he got 4 commodities. So we say thank you for that, give him 3 trade goods, and get his 4 commodities. And that was our first turn. Then it gets to be the green player's turn, and he takes control of another system. Doesn't do anything right now. But the red player decides to play the technology card immediately. Maybe he also wants to have gravity drive, so he can gain control of a 3rd system. So he plays that. And we want to do the secondary of that. So we spend a command token from our strategy pool, and we need to pay 4 resources. We can use this planet that has 2 and pay 2 trade goods. And then we may research gravity drive. So that's awesome. And then the other players take their turns, and maybe the purple player decides to play leadership already, so he gets 3 command tokens. But we also get the chance to buy a command token because we have 1 influence here and another one here, and we can actually spend a trade good. And then we have spent the 3 influence we need, and now we can buy 1 more command token. So that's awesome. And now it gets to be our turn. So now we're ready to fly out, gain control of the first system, explore the planets as you do, and then it's the green player, doesn't do anything and besides grabbing one more system probably, and then it's the red player and he also gains control of another planet or another system, and so does the purple player, and it gets to be our turn again. So we move out once more, gaining control of these, and now it's the green player again, and he decides to use warfare, and we do the secondary of warfare that says spend one token from your strategy pool to use the production ability of one of your space docks in your home system. So we do that, and it's important to note that you don't activate the system, so we just put it here, and then we decide to build a carrier, 2 infantry and a cruiser, and that costs 3 and those 2 cost 1, so that's 4 and 6 with a cruiser. But since we have Sarween tools, then we can reduce it and just pay 5. Put these 6 over here, get 1 back. There we go. The purple player does whatever he does, and now it gets to be our turn again. And now we can use both gravity drive, because now one of our ships can move one more system during this tactical action, and that's the carrier. We can go 1, 2 instead, and we can bring some fighters, a cruiser, possibly the fighters as well. And that's basically what we can do. So whenever it gets to be our turn, we can pass, but we have gained control of 3 systems. We got gravity drive and another command token, so that's a fairly good round. Alright, so let me show you how the first round can look like when you don't have the trade strategy card. And in this example, we got the technology strategy card instead. So let's just say that the leadership player, the purple player, has taken their turns, the trade player has taken theirs, and the green player has taken theirs, and now it's our turn. And they just gain control of their first systems, just like we do here. And we pass the turn along, and they all take their turns, grabbing their second system. We decide to do the same here. And now the purple player does something, but not play his strategy card. Instead, the red player now decides to play the trade strategy card, and then he gains his 3 trade goods here, but decides not to replenish any other players. So we use the Masters of Trade. You do not have to spend a command token to resolve the secondary ability of the trade strategy card. So we basically gain our 6 commodities. Those 3 shouldn't have been there. So let's just put another 3. So we get up to the 6 here. And then we quickly ask the purple player, for instance, if they want to trade if we replenish them, and they agree to that. So they will have 4 commodities. And then we agree on a trade where I get those 4 commodities, and instead he gets 3 of our commodities, like that. Thank you for the trade. And the way we replenished him was to use our agent that says during the action phase you may exhaust this card to gain 2 commodities or replenish another player's commodities. There we go. That was the red player. Now the green player takes his turn, and now it gets to be our turn. So we play the technology strategy card so we can gain 1 technology, and we research gravity drive, and now we're back to the purple player who has leadership, and it's now time for him to play that, and we think it's a good idea to buy 1 more command token. So I flip those 2 planets, 1 influence, 2 influence, and a trade good for the 3rd influence, and then we can get another command token like that. And now the red player does something, whatever he chooses to do, and the green player finally decides to play the warfare strategy card. So we pay a token from our strategy pool so that we can build units in our home system without activating the system. And right now we got 2 resources on one of our home planets and an additional 3 trade goods out here. And for that we can buy another carrier, 2 infantry, and a cruiser, just like that. And that is 3, 5, and 6. And since we have Sarween tools, we only need to pay 5. So that's the 2, and that's 5. And now it's our turn again. And let's just activate out here and get the equidistant planet to the red player. Since he was a bad boy and not replenishing us. So let's just get that planet from him. A little more defense into that. And with that, we now have 3 systems in our first round. We don't end up with just as many trade goods or as many command counters as if we had the trade strategy card. So I think basically the trade strategy card is a tiny bit better than all the other strategy cards. When it comes to public objectives that are easy for the Hacan player to score, I have found these 4 and they are very similar. It's all spend objectives. Spend 5 trade goods, spend 8 resources, spend 8 influence, and spend 3 influence, 3 resources, and 3 trade goods. And that's basically because you have 6 commodities, and it's very easy, at least in the beginning, for the Hacan player to trade with the other players, so that you can easily afford spending this to score these objectives. When it comes to secret objectives, I've not found any that suits the Hacan player better because of his faction abilities, so I have none to show here. One final tip I will give you is to remember that your mix can be used to trade planet cards. So let's just say that in this example here, you are being threatened by the red player and you will probably lose control of this planet anyway. But since you have a mega on it, you can use the ability it says. This planet's planet card may be traded as part of a transaction. If you do, move all your units from this planet to another planet you control. So let's just say that you agree on a transaction. It could be that he pays you 1 trade good and then you give him the Warhol planet card, and then you can basically move all your units on the planet to another planet that you control. And then whenever it gets to be the red player's turn, he can gain control of that planet and you will probably lose your carrier, but it's still cheaper than also losing all your units on the ground. So that is a way to use your mix to help you save some money and trade away a planet. You could also, of course, just sell a planet for the profit in case you need that. And one last tip, remember if your trade goods looks like this, then the other players are probably more hesitant to trade with you. So don't show how much money you have. Remember to spend it and hide it as good as you can so that the other players will still continue to do trades with you. Alright, that was it. If you liked the video, please click the like button. If you want to know how the hero works for the Emirates of Hacan, I give you an example here. Otherwise, I'll just say good luck with your next game, and I hope that you win.